you doing? What's up, dude? It's my cat, everybody.
Okay.
He's hilarious. Oh, hi. Hi, people. Hi, as I take another glass or sip of... I'm not drunk, I swear.
I am.
Another sip of wine is what I meant to say.
We're drinking wine on this one.
Oh, yeah, we have to. It's been a hell of a day, but we are here, and thank you for tuning in again, you guys. Like, this is insane how we're just cracking these things out. Like, This is what, episode 4, right?
Yep,
right?
episode 4.
Okay, again, I promise I'm not drunk. What up, guys? Welcome to the SLC podcast.
Ooh, SLC Sit Down.
Yep, SLC Sit Down podcast. I am Kiki Furia.
I am Kat Umano.
And yes, welcome again. You can find us on many social media platforms. You can find Kiki Furia on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that jazz.
You can find me at my very creative name at Kat Umano, CATUMANO. Facebook. Don't find me on Snapchat. I don't even remember what my Snapchat name is. Instagram, Twitter. Yeah.
All the things.
Follow us.
All the things. And of course, you can also find us through the SLC Sit Down podcast. We also have a Facebook page, Twitter. Yeah,
at SLC Sit Down. And we do have an email, slcsitdownpodcast@gmail.com if you feel the need to go old school and email us.
Yeah, dude, I like emails. So please send emails. And we have new stuff. We have a new YouTube channel, right?
Yeah. So you can listen to us on YouTube. If we're on Spreaker, we're on iTunes. We're working on getting onto Spotify. There's a waiting list for Spotify, but we are on it. But yeah, you can listen to us on YouTube. So there's no excuse.
You shouldn't be missing an episode.
Listen to us.
Shouldn't be missing an episode. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. Couple shout outs before we start. Cracked Brain podcast with Stefan, who once again has let us use his equipment. Geek Show podcast, the Incredibly Vocal Minority podcast with Jay Whitaker, Big Shiny Robot podcast with Tom, who's been a huge help for us since the beginning, and then Watchtower Cafe. We were just there yesterday.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Tui and Corey. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all that you guys do. So yeah, here we are, the SLC Sit Down podcast. I totally butchered that earlier. I remember I did that.
It's fine. We've been drinking.
This is true. So yeah, all those shout outs to all those guys. You guys are amazing. It's awesome. Today's topic. Holy cow. Are you guys ready for this? We are going to define what a geek and a nerd is. So we titled this episode Geek 101. And I kind of like that people are going to probably be like, what the hell is that?
And that might change. We'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, but I almost like that it's like this is 101 in perspective of two females that are geeks. Mm-hmm. We're nerds.
And in this podcast we've mentioned before, we're going to be covering, a wide variety of topics. We talked about interracial dating, we talked about feminism, we're going to be talking about, LGBT. Yeah, enunciation. LGBTQIA plus issues, a ton of, deep stuff. And hey, geek stuff can get deep too, but we're just gonna give a nice variety of stuff. But yeah, today we're talking about some geek stuff.
Yeah. Like Geek Nerd 101. Mm-hmm. What is that? Yeah. Well, we're gonna dive deep into that. And I think the best place to start with that is just defining it. Right,
because everyone has their own definition of a geek or a nerd, so it's like, okay, well, what's the textbook definition of a nerd?
Right, what is that? That was really good.
I love how I pushed up my fake glasses that no one can see, but you saw it, Kiki. So
and I do wear glasses, but I appreciate that you did that. And I love the voice too. I thought it was great. So yeah, let's just start with defining it, right? So just a basic geek definition. A geek is someone who is a knowledgeable and obsessive enthusiast. Not too shabby. The Urban Dictionary, which I just thought was funny. I don't know if anyone really like.
I love Urban Dictionary.
It is great, but
And
I feel like you should never take it too seriously.
Well, sometimes I have to. Okay, sometimes I have to use it because I see someone post something, even someone my age or a little bit older,
Right.
post something. I'm like, what's that? I don't
What does
know
that mean?
Like,
I
I
don't
have to
know.
legit look up. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's fine.
It's really sometimes it makes me feel old, but
Yup.
at least if I don't look old, I guess that's something. So
Using resources.
right. So okay, so yeah, we basically defined geek. So the Urban Dictionary defines a geek as not to be confused with nerd. A geek does not have to be smart. A geek is someone who is generally not athletic and enjoys video games, comics, and being on the internet.
So
Okay, Urban Dictionary.
So it seems like, at least by the textbook definition, even though I don't really know how much you can argue that Urban Dictionary is a textbook, but it seems like geek is a little bit more broad as far as just
Right.
having enthusiasm about some topic. Because you could, with that definition, you can even talk about sports fans being geeks.
Right.
But then with nerds, I feel like it's a little bit more geared towards like comic books and kind of the
Right.
geek stuff that we're talking about.
Right. So-
interesting.
Very interesting. So with that, let's see what the definition is for nerd.
Oh,
So a nerd by definitionary, but definitionary is that I just combined two words.
Yes, you did.
This
editing
wine
it
is
out.
delicious. Definitionary.
It's staying in.
Right. Okay, so by the dictionary, they define nerd as a foolish person who lacks social skills or is boringly studious. Okay. Urban Dictionary defines a nerd as someone who enjoys learning, does not adhere to social norms. Does not adhere to social norms.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Like, I thought it was interesting, and we're going to continue to dive deep on some things.
Great.
And so we have a better definition by two amazing people, and you will know who they are when I tell you who they are, and what they have to say on their definitions on what a nerd and a geek is, which I think is the best definition I've read, and really sums up what those terms mean and when you think about someone's identity, I guess, so to say. And so, yeah, I'll save that for the end. So, but based on what we got, that's interesting. Let's continue to dive a little deeper. So I consider myself a total nerd. I mean, I just do. And I'm okay with that. I like what I like.
I've said it before. I consider myself like a baby geek when it comes to. I know. Just when it comes to like comics and superheroes and kind of the more stereotypical cliche stuff. It's only maybe in the past year that I've started like legit reading comic books and binging Marvel movies and
Right.
all of that. So I've always loved Wonder Woman. That I think is what really got me into it, and I don't even know how that all started, but yeah, it's still very new. And that's another thing that I think makes this interesting is you're more of a seasoned geek and
like that.
I'm a little bit more of a newbie, so I think that
Nice
I don't know,
balance.
it's kind of it's a nice balance.
Nice balance. Yeah. So with that, I want to kind of start with the bad stuff first, and then end with the good stuff. So when you think about nerds and geeks and whatnot, the culture that is nerds and geeks, we're going to talk about the dark side of geekdom and nerdom communities for one. And
even,
so
yeah, and even just like the negative side of geekdom and how it kind of all started.
right. And so with that, once upon a time, like nerds and geeks were like lower
Had to.
in a galaxy far, far away.
Says the girl who hasn't seen a Star Wars movie in a long time. No, I've seen them. It's just been a long time.
Oh gosh, don't scare me like that.
It's been I'm working. You know what?
I was gonna grab
I'm
another
working
bowl.
on it. I'm working on it. Okay, there's a lot.
I was gonna totally just be like, oh my god, I need more wine. But like, so yeah, like once upon a time, yeah, like nerds and geeks were like literally considered like lower than dirt. You know what I mean? Like, go back and look at all your like basically your 80s movies and
Yeah.
like how the nerds were treated, 16 Candles, Farmer Ted, Pretty in Pink, Ducky, like they were your nerds, your geeks, your weirdos.
Yeah,
And they
then
were
even like sitcoms, like you think of, we
Right.
talked about like Urkel
Right.
and Minkus on Boy Meets World, and they're just it's a very stereotypical like wears glasses, has the nasally voice, wears a bow tie.
Yeah, they dress weird. They're into weird things that
Social
isn't-
outcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, that's not cool. Like whatever. Like, and so once upon a time, that's how they were perceived, and that wasn't like super long time ago. You know what I mean? The 80s weren't that far away,
Yeah, the 90s too. Yeah.
right? Not in some of the 90s, right?
And it's still present a little bit today.
A little bit.
But I think now the culture's changed where geeks are a little bit more celebrated and kind of seen more as the norm. So it's
Right. And so like this whole idea of like nerdom and geekdom becoming mainstream and how it became mainstream. And I think I'll say it, I think Hollywood had a big deal to do with that, with just, the quality of superhero movies that, have been throughout time and how much better they got like as time went on. And I think that, the true geeks and nerds out there, celebrated in that, and it all of a sudden was just something that, was like this shining beacon that, being a nerd is cool, to see your passions and your enthusiasm come out for the characters and the things that you love, whatever that may be. And so like, and with that, thinking about geekdom and nerdom and mainstream, I mean, it's almost a way of life now. Like comic book shops have popped up out of nowhere, more comic book shops more than ever. Even with like cosplay, for example, like there are professional cosplayers. This is their job. Yaya Han, for example. Jessica Nigri, and I think her name is Kiyumi cosplay. Like that's her day job, is, making these costumes, and people hitting her up like, we want you to bring this character to life or whatever. And it's just like crazy to me that it's just like, wow, like
it's so much more accepted and celebrated now.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were saying when we were discussing too, like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, for example, too. And like, I mean, they're geniuses, like living Tony Starks. You know what I mean?
One of them.
Right. One of them. Yeah, that's true. One of them. But like living Tony Starks, like they're geniuses, and they were idolized and whatnot when you think about tech. You know what I'm saying? But still, like, they would fall under that umbrella of being a nerd or a geek or whatever. But they make a shit ton of money, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, so it's like, well, what can you say?
Right. Right. So, I mean, just looking at how, like, yeah, this dark side, and that there is a lot of negativity that is within nerdom and geekdom. And we'll actually expand a little bit more on that negativity, I think, in our next episode. But that it's there, and how nerds and geeks were perceived once upon a time versus what they are now, I think that's a huge win. I want to just applaud. Like, I think that's awesome, because I can remember when I was younger and whatnot that, like, the things that I loved, superheroes or, certain types of music, video games, whatever, and that, like, it was a kind of weird that it was just like, you should be playing with dolls, or, you know what I mean? I was a kind of a tomboy too anyway, so like, it is what it is. Like, I watched Power Rangers and wanted to go outside and kick ass afterwards. Like, Saber-Tooth Tiger, you know which Power Ranger I liked.
And having brothers, just adds to that.
Right.
Too, so.
Right. And so, like, I mean, and going to school, it was kind of like that sometimes, where it was just like, oh my God, like, how old are you? And you like Power Rangers? Or, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, dude, that shit is fucking dope.
And now it's like you see people who are in their, like, late 20s, early 30s who have that in their weddings.
Right.
Like, there are people who have, like, superhero themed weddings, and,
Right.
their groomsmen are dressed in Ninja Turtle colors and things like that. And it's just like, yup.
I have a friend who, Renee Inarath, like, Levy Girl, and her wedding was, like, totally Pokemon themed. Like,
Oh my God.
it was so cool. Like, she had, like, Pokemon on her wedding cake, and when you came to the wedding, you could pick a Pokemon, your favorite Pokemon, and we're not talking about, like, extreme cosplay, but, like, whatever, like, fancy attire you were wearing, you tried to match those colors to the Pokemon.
Oh, that's
So that was, like, really cool.
Yeah.
I was Ponyta, I just want to say. I had the fire wig, and I was like, yes, all about the fire types, baby.
Well, I think part of the transition is I feel like it no longer is defined as juvenile,
Right.
because it used to be, like you said, such a you know, a young kid thing where it's like, oh no, only little kids like Power Rangers and Pokemon and things like that.
Right.
And now it's totally fine if you're, you know, 40 years old and you're first in line to see Iron Man or
Right.
whatever.
You still go down and play Dungeons and Dragons or whatever. Like,
Yeah, and it's definitely evolved more to adult taste. I mean, you
Right.
go and see these Marvel movies, and even some of them you're like, I don't know if I should bring my kid, like,
right.
just because they're a little bit more mature and they're, you know, they can be violent and things like that, but they're still. I feel like it's a happy medium right now. It's
Right.
still very much, you know, you have that little kid inside of you who's really excited, but then
Yes.
it also appeals to the adult side of you. So
Right, right. And I think that's cool on the same lines because of people our age and older. If you have families and kids, you're totally gonna share that with your kids. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, which is cool. Like, it's like it's a generational thing, which I think is awesome. And I think growing up in the times that we are millennials, whatever you want to call it, like, I would say being a millennial was kind of awesome. Like, I feel like I had such a cool childhood of music and movies and fashion and so on and so forth. And so, like, if I had a kid, I would totally want to, you know, tell them about these movies and Michael Keaton is my Batman.
yeah, we
Like,
talked
you know?
about that, how, you know, a lot of these movies are getting revamped and they're kind of getting a fresh take on, you know, just good old Batman.
Right.
But, you know, each generation has like, well, this is my Batman, this is my Superman, this is my Spider-Man, whatever, and I'm sure that will continue.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. It's really cool. So with that, let's just look at the overarching umbrella. Like, if we're going to talk about a 101, I think when you think nerds and geeks, what does that really encompass? And this is just our list. I mean, if we definitely miss something, please feel free to send us a message or whatever. Like, oh, don't forget this, don't forget that.
Yeah, and we're going to dive deeper into this in future episodes.
Right.
This is just scratching the surface right now.
Totally icing on the cake. Right out the gate, comics. I would say if you're reading comics, that's a level of nerdom and geekdom, right? So hanging out at your comic book shops, up on your reading and whatnot, that's a level. The next level, more my area, I feel. I love films. I love TV. So definitely all your Marvel movies, I'm always there when those movies drop. Like, it's just my thing. Same with TV. I binge watch shows like nobody's business. I am the binge queen. I just want to throw that out there. That's like my password, I think.
She says on the podcast.
I do.
Okay,
I
well,
do.
I know what we're doing after we're done recording is we're changing all Kiki's passwords. All right.
So yeah, I'm a binge watcher. So yeah, films and TV, and not just your Marvel superheroes. Just, I mean, there's tons of films out there that are underneath, like, I mean, your fantasy films like Lord of the Rings or, you know, whatnot. So there's that. Next level, I'd say, is like your gaming. So video games, board games, and whatnot. Your D&D. You know, I don't care what console you're on, Xbox, PlayStation. I have both. I can't pick one over the other, even though I secretly do probably play more on Xbox.
So bad at Xbox. I tried to start. Okay, so I love Lara Croft.
Yeah.
I tried to start playing Lara Croft on Xbox because we now have an Xbox. Because I used to only play on PS2 because that's all I could afford. I am like, just basic controls. I am so bad.
It's a weird transition. It is, just because I also grew up on PlayStation, so I'm a Sony girl all the way. I grew up in a Sony house, actually.
Yeah.
And so, like,
I'm like, I'm just trying to move.
yeah, like transitioning. It's just like where the placement of the all the buttons are. It's so bizarre. But then I don't know. Once you get it, it feels natural, which is so weird to me. But I probably play more on Xbox now than I do on PlayStation.
Yeah,
but
basically before that, I was just like Kingdom Hearts was my jam, and that was it. Oh, it's so. Oh, I don't care how old you are. It's so much fun. But yeah, that was like the extent of my gaming skills. And then I got Xbox 3, and I was like,
yeah.
and
it's
too much.
Well, and what's bad is it does kind of become this like obsession, because like I was like, oh, I only need one system. I'm only one person. No way. I fucking have like 4 systems now, and I'm like, how does this happen? And so I have my
It's all a
Xbox,
scheme
right?
to get our money.
Right. Like I have my
It's fun.
Xbox, which was a gift. Thank you, Renee and David. I have a PS4, a PS3, and a first gen PlayStation that I got for free too, by the way. That was a super awesome score.
Yeah, I got my PS2 off of Craigslist for like $15.
Oh, that's awesome.
because
That's awesome.
Didn't have cable or internet. What's up?
I still need to get a game. I don't know if you guys know this game. It was so first gen PlayStation was the first system in my house, and the first game that we got for it was a game called Battle Arena Toshunden, and it's also an anime and it's a fighting game and it's fan-fucking-tastic. I love that game so much, and I need to order it and play it again, and me and my brother will just be two giddy kids again when we play it. But anyway, so yeah, gaming. And then lastly, I think looking at conventions, cosplay, your, Comic Cons and anime based conventions. Utah has a great anime convention, by the way. Anime Bonsai is awesome. I've gone for the past 2 or 3 years now. So just, yeah, attending those events, any nerd type of event in your community or the big conventions, and cosplay, of course. Like, that's totally my realm, and I've been doing it now for like 5 years, but
Yeah, we were
it's so
talking about
fun.
that yesterday because I haven't really done cosplay yet.
You're gonna love it.
But we're gonna. I mean, I don't know how intense I'm gonna get with it, but it's definitely there's like 2 or 3 characters that I'm like going for.
And you're gonna rock the hell out of it, dude. I know,
So,
like, and that's
it's
the cool
cool.
thing about cosplay. Like, either you're heavy into it, like, to where it's could possibly be a profession, like Yaya Han and Jessica Negri, for example, or you just do it as a hobby, and it's just your thing, And the funnest thing about going to a convention is like just the people you meet and like the fans, and literally it's like I plan on cosplaying Domino. Like, shout out.
It's gonna be so
You know,
good.
oh
I don't know
my
if you
God.
saw her Twitter, and it's like, oh, it's gonna be so good.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm
But
so
yeah,
excited.
you can kind of, and we'll talk about this more with like we're gonna talk about some gatekeeping on the next episode. But the fun
Yeah.
thing about cosplay is there's no wrong way to cosplay
None.
unless you do something offensive and like into the neighborhood of like appropriation, which we'll get into
Yeah.
that later.
We'll get into that. We got some
But
things.
you don't have to have, a $300 costume and be a perfect replica of whatever character. It's like
Right.
we went to. If you saw one of the promo pictures of us, I went to cosplay karaoke in Wonder Woman pajamas and a bathrobe, and I was like, "Yep, Diana Prince,
Dude,
Amazons,
yeah.
what up?"
It was so cool. Like, and that's the beauty of it is no matter your gender, no matter your race, no matter anybody can cosplay. And like you said, yeah, there is some negativity with that on certain things, but
it's
for the
like-
most part, it's fun. And whether you buy it, whether you make it, whether you modify, whether it's commissioned, whatever, cosplay is cosplay. And that's a whole, I'm gonna start rambling. I was like, that's a whole other thing. I'm like, we could talk about that later. But yes, cosplay is super fun. If you've never done it, I highly recommend you try it. It's a good time. And like I said, like going to conventions, like you just meet the most amazing people. And I think for me personally, that's the best part about cosplay is like that I can be, for example, if I'm cosplaying Domino, when I go to Comic-Con this in September,
Hopefully,
hopefully, hopefully.
we're not gonna get into that.
Yeah, we will.
Anyway.
But when I go as Domino, I'm totally expecting to like run into other like Deadpool fans, and they're just gonna be like, and I'm gonna be like, and then we're gonna sit and talk about how awesome the movie was, and I probably just made a new best friend.
Which Kiki finally saw Deadpool,
I
and it's
did.
so good.
It's so good.
Which amazed me that I saw it before you.
I know, right? Hold on,
was
guys.
so good.
My cat is being ridiculous. Hey, if you don't stop that crow,
Yeah. Side note: if you hear us just yelling at in the
Things.
background, we're just yelling at
get away from
our
it.
mascot,
Yes.
Crow.
Move.
So he's just trying to chew up the equipment. It's fine. It's fine. Stefan, don't worry. We got this under control. Your equipment is safe.
But you saw it before I did, but I'm so glad that I got a chance to see it, and Domino was the best part of the movie, and I want to see it
Seriously.
again. She was awesome.
Go see Deadpool.
Yep. So yeah, that was it. Comics, film, TV, video games, gaming, board gaming. Oh, LARPing. I totally missed LARPing.
I just
Which
love the word LARPing.
I know. I've never done it, but
I've
it
never
looks
done it.
fantastic.
I don't know. I just like the word LARPing.
Yeah, I want to do it. And I know they're going to probably have a LARPing station at Gaming Con, and I might try it this year for the first time just because it looks fun. So yeah, LARPing, cosplay, conventions. Bada bing, bada boom. I think that is the overall broad umbrella that kind of associates with geeks and nerds.
Now, I'm going to digress for a moment because I was thinking about this before we started recording. So we define geek as an enthusiast about a certain topic, and in this episode we're talking specifically about like comics and superheroes and kind of the stereotypical geek stuff. But is there something outside of that that you're kind of a geek about? Maybe like a guilty pleasure thing that you're just like, I'm into it?
I would say dance. Like, I feel like I'm kind of a geek about dancing. Like, I teach.
We both teach. Hey, hire us.
Hey, right? Hello. Yeah, I love dancing. I love movement. Yeah, outside of that umbrella and whatnot, like, I have a pretty extensive background I did a lot of training in junior college and whatnot. My mom couldn't afford to put me in a dance studio, so I just kind of taught myself by watching all your Step Up movies and right and
Darren's dance group.
Right.
Totally.
Right.
Oh my
And what was the other one? Wade Robson Project, the Wade Robson Project.
Yep.
Oh, that was so fun. So You Think You Can Dance, America's Best Dance Crew, and all that. Like, so I kind of just watched and I trained, and YouTube was kind of becoming big around that time too. So I watched a lot of YouTube videos and just trained myself, and then I got involved in dance, like community dance groups, and I did performances, and then I started teaching in after school programs, which was really cool. And so, I mean, I just kind of geek out about it, like, because I'm just like, oh, a new dance movie. Oh, like when Burlesque came out, I was like, ooh, yes. Like,
Ooh, Step Up 6.
I know, right? Or 10, 20,
Yeah,
whatever
Jesus.
it is.
Well,
But those were like really, really cool for me. And anything dance. And I guess along with that would be music, because usually sometimes when I hear a song, I'm always thinking like, ooh, I should come up with a dance to this.
it's not what I was expecting. Because thinking about my answer, and I'm like,
What were you going to say?
Okay, this is embarrassing. I love sharks and shark movies. It's just like Shark Week. I don't even have cable. Shark Week is my jam. Stupid shark movies, Deep Blue Sea, Jaws.
I love it.
Oh my god, I love it. Even if they're terrible movies, I love it.
So that new one coming out, the Meg or whatever, there's like a new shark movie coming out with Jason Statham.
Jason Statham? What?
Yeah.
What?
I just saw the
I went and
previews for it
saw-
yesterday. I was dying.
I actually bought it because it was in the $5 movie bin at Walmart, The Shallows with Blake Lively.
Oh, I've
I
seen
actually
that.
saw that in theater. It's not bad.
No,
for a shark movie.
that's a good movie.
So, but anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a good movie. I wasn't
Look at
expecting you to say
Kiki with your dance, and I'm
shark.
and in my I'm like, I like sharks, even though I don't swim in the ocean. Anyway, it's fun. Anyway,
That's
back
funny.
to comics. Speaking of comics, I know there's a bunch of great comic book shops in Salt Lake, but shout out to Dr. Volt's.
Yes.
I don't know where it is, but it's a great. Just Google it, Dr. Volt's.
Yeah.
It's a great comic book shop, and the staff there is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Really great with recommendations and just fun guys. So
Yeah, I
check it out.
actually just went there for the very first time on recommendation from the guys on Geek Show podcast. And I went there for a free comic book day for the first time. And yeah, it was a good time. Like, I loved it. They were so cool, so nice. And they're like, come on this day and we'll help you and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, that's amazing. I love this place. So yeah, Dr. Volts for sure. Cool. So
Anyway.
yeah,
Sorry.
we're going to transition here into just girl geeks. Because we're two ladies, seasoned in baby
Newbie.
Novice.
Novice. Whatever you wanna
Novice.
call it. I don't know.
So, what made you feel like you were a geek cat?
Ooh. Like I said, I wasn't super. It was only recently that I got into comics and superhero stuff. I was always semi-interested in it just because it's become so mainstream. But really, I've started like diving in and actually buying comics and being really invested in it once I started dating a geek. But before that, as I mentioned before, I don't remember what brought it on or what introduced me to it, but I always loved Wonder Woman, and I just loved her character and just everything she represented, and that she was feminine but strong and independent and all of that. And I just like I have a Wonder Woman. I just have a bunch of Wonder Woman stuff, and so I always knew I'm like this is a lot. So I knew that I always knew I had that in me
Right.
a little bit because of good old Wonder Woman.
Nice.
What
Yeah.
about you?
Which that movie was fantastic.
It was so good.
It's so good. It was
So good.
like I wanted to kick ass afterwards. Not even gonna lie.
Seriously, I walked out of there and I was like, I can lift a tank. Yup. Oh, it was so good.
Oh my god, yeah. I was just like that, which is just so funny because you would figure. I don't know. I looked at myself because I see a lot of superhero movies and whatnot, and I usually come out super hyped. But with that one, I literally walked out and was just like, I'm ready to kick somebody's ass right
Yeah.
now.
Yep.
Like, not even kidding. Like, yeah.
Who's looking for it? Yep.
Right? So good. Such a good movie. I feel like what made me feel like I was a geek or a nerd, whatever you want to call it, was my mom. Like, I mean, she is a nerd, I think, herself. Like, my mom is a nerd and a geek herself, and she is a movie buff as well. And so growing up, I would just watch all these like crazy movies. I remember I was talking to another friend of mine, like, I don't know, a couple months back, and we were just talking movies, and he's like, how the hell have you seen some of these movies? Like, how did you? And I was like, dude, I watched them at home with my mom's. And he was like, your mom let you watch that? And I'm just like, what? Like, I mean, Aliens probably was a movie I shouldn't have watched at super young age, but whatever. My mom's a big sci-fi nerd too. Like, so I think like for me, what made me feel like it was the sci-fi movies that I watched. And so like, and fantasy too. I mean, like I totally remember watching like The Dark Crystal, Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal. It's a puppet movie, fantastic, one of my favorites. Yeah, Aliens, it's an old school movie, Life Force. That's a really cheesy kind of movie, but it was. I think it's pretty good. It's not too many people heard of it. Dune, like. Yeah, just all kinds of really weird movies. My grandma too, though. Oh man, that's weird. Now that I think about it, my grandma owned like all the old school like Godzilla movies and kung fu movies and whatnot. So like, I don't know. It was just like the movies that I watched totally shaped my like mind and whatnot. And if you're really ready for something weird, the movies that me and my brother would watch, my mom would like tell us to watch it because that was one of her favorite movies and we should get out of her hair. And two, it was like she wanted us to almost like do homework. Like, so like we'd watch these movies and afterwards she'd be like, all right, can you tell me like what the director was trying to say? And I'm just like, whoa, I didn't realize I was in class, Mom. Like,
whoa, quiz.
right?
Quiz
And but it was like really cool too because I don't know, it helped me and my brother like critical thinking, you know, I guess. And so it was just kind of a cool way to bring us into film and thinking about messaging and yeah, like looking at films in a different way than just I'm gonna go watch a movie and not really understand what this is. So I don't know, it was like a steeper dive. So I don't know. I feel like for me that's probably what made me feel like a geek was like TV and film, and she had a few comics too, and like she liked superhero movies as well and stuff. So her favorite Batman is Michael Keaton as well.
We all got a favorite Batman.
Right. Don't get me started on Christian Bale. Fight me if anyone disagrees.
Oh, okay. All right,
Don't get me started.
moving on.
Right. But like, I don't know, being a girl geek, like thinking about experiences, like, so I mean, we shared what made us feel like it. Like, I feel like I've had a really cool experience. Like, I don't feel like I've ever been super crapped on by anybody.
Yeah.
Of like, well, you don't know this and you've never seen this. Like, well, I mean, again, it's about your approach. Like, don't approach me in that negative term.
Yeah, exactly.
If you love this thing and you want to share that with me, by all means, please share your passions with me.
Right, and that's the thing. Again, we'll talk about this more next time when we talk about kind of gatekeeping and more of the negative aspects of it. But, you know, this is supposed to be a positive thing that people love and, you know, should enjoy sharing with each other. And it should be more of an, you know, kind of an open, welcome, you know, kind of invitation. The cat's doing something weird. Yeah, it should just be more of, I don't know, people just being more willing to share and be open and inviting instead of, you know,
right,
kind of protective of it. It's like,
and I mean, and that approach can be so intimidating.
yup,
Like,
especially as a newer geek, like for for me, like I said, everything is a little bit newer for me, and especially now, because some of these comics go way, way back, like decades and decades, and they're always coming out with new ones all the time. New Marvel movies, like I know Marvel released, their movie list for the next however many years, and, even still, just this year we had Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, we just had Deadpool 2, Solo, yeah. Captain Marvel's coming out early next year. There's just so much content just with movies, and then, you try to catch up on old comics and TV and, games and things like that, that if you're a little bit older and especially trying to get into it now like I am, it's like, it's a little intimidating. Like, I'm trying to catch up on Marvel stuff for Infinity War, because I still haven't seen it, and I'm like, oh my god, there's so much content, and there's so many, and that's just movies, and it can be overwhelming, and it's just like, where do you start,
Yep. It can be. It really can be. But I think that's where, I don't know, this sounds a little weird, but I'm going to say it anyway, like having kind of like a nerd support group, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like someone who's going to be like, oh, you got to check this out. And then just like devoting the time for it too. Like, to make sure that you do catch up on it and stuff if you really want to dive deep and whatnot. But understanding too that it's okay if you don't, you know what I mean? And I mean, sometimes that kind of bugs me when I see people saying like, well, you can't see this until you see this, this, and this.
Yep.
Well, if they want to jump in at that point in time, let them jump in, and they'll have questions. But again, if you're a friend of theirs, like, you'll talk them through it or recommend, hey, come over and let's just watch this movie tonight, or whatever,
Yeah.
It should be chill. I don't want the nerd and geek communities to feel like this is things that you have to do. That's a requirement. You know what I mean?
It's like, don't let the rules and the structure kind of take the joy out of it. Like, that happened to me with Jessica Jones. I was, I had seen the first season, and the second season came out, and I was excited to watch it. And someone was like, well, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? And I'm like, no. Like, well, how can you possibly watch Jessica Jones? I'm like, because I just enjoy it, you know? And it's like, yeah, I get that if you really want the full experience, like, I could have easily gone and seen Infinity War and probably would have really enjoyed it. But I know that if I watch these other Marvel movies, I'm going to enjoy it more and have more of an emotional, investment and attachment to these characters.
Right.
But I shouldn't, let that kind of define my experience. It's like, just let people like things. If Infinity War is the first superhero movie you've ever seen, yeah, you might be a little confused, but just let people go and enjoy it. It's,
And like, I think just let them explore on their own. I think that's the most authentic way to get into things, is that you just let them learn and go on their own. And like I said, if you're a friend of theirs, like, you'll be there every step of the way, and oh, well, now that you've seen this, what questions do you have? Okay, let me like tell you this, or hey, come over to my house next week and we'll watch this, and this will totally make sense and you'll connect the dots, and it's really cool. So like, I kind of like those approaches, and I think that's more positive than, like I said, the whole gatekeeping thing, which, like I said, we'll get into that more, but it just puts a negative spin on the community and causes so many problems, and people already starting to put this stereotype on geeks, like that geeks think they're better than everybody else and they're elitist or whatever. And that's not true at all. Not for a lot of us, we know that there's asshats out there, but like, we'll talk about those people next week.
People.
I know. I went there because I think that they are the cause of a lot of
This
problems.
is the SLC sit down, damn it, we're going there.
Right. I'm calling it like it is, damn it. And like, we'll talk about them next week, but like, just, we're trying to keep things positive, people, and give solutions to better the community. And it is hard when you got challenges, but I think, again, if we're doing the right things and treating people as people, and your approach to positivity on things, that's the first step, I think, personally.
Yeah. And our big emphasis on this podcast is just, regardless of what the topic is just communication.
Right.
And, we're just, sometimes we're going to talk about some really heavy topics, but it never comes from a place of anger and aggression and, kind of chastising and lecturing people. It's like, we just want to sit and, just chill and just kind of talk these things out. And
Right.
not only with these issues, but even just in personal life. Like, I know that sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but when you just sit and kind of talk out these issues, it's amazing the solutions you can come up
Right.
with. So that's
real issues, real issues. We're not sugarcoating things. We're gonna get real all the time. I'm only sassy by nature, a little bit, and I do it for funsies most of the time. I'm really a sweetheart, guys. I swear. Until you make me mad. But anyway.
so. Again, going along with superheroes and geek stuff, do you find yourself? I know my girl Kiki loves some Iron Man, loves some Tony Stark.
Oh, be still my
Swoon.
heart. Be still.
But do you find yourself more drawn to female superheroes, or is it kind of even? Like,
For me, it's even. I growing up with two brothers, kind of being a
Yup.
tomboy and whatnot. Growing up, I loved male characters just as much as the female characters, and vice versa. And so, like, it just depended on the character for me, which is why I think for my cosplaying is why I love the gender bent style of cosplaying more or less, because the female characters that I love, of course, I'm gonna be them. Like Domino, I'm gonna be Domino. She's already a female. She's fantastic. I love strong characters. I think that's the emphasis right there on my cosplaying, and the characters that I like is that they're just strong characters. I really love. I grew up in a household that strength was an essence in my family, like to be strong enough to perceive, like to go through and persevere, and whatnot. Like, so strength is always just a big thing for me.
Yeah.
And so, if it was a female character that I liked, like I liked her, but if it was a male character that I like, that's where in cosplay I'm like, oh, what would that character look like if he was a female? And so, like Bishop, for example, in X-Men,
yeah.
like love Bishop, but I'm just like, well, he's a male, and I don't want to make myself look like a guy. I still want to be a female, but I'm gonna be a female Bishop. Like, so what does that look like? And that's like the fun part with cosplaying, is that
That's
you can,
cool.
like, you can design the costumes differently. I've seen other female cosplayers who have done Bishop, and instead of the pants, they do skirts, things like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun and it's creative.
That's a cool. I never even thought about that, because again, I don't cosplay yet.
yeah.
But yeah, that's a cool perspective of kind of going. And I feel like I go that way with music,
Yeah.
because I listen to a song and it's not just do I like it, do I not like it. I'm like, oh, this could be this routine, and I feel like that's kind of similar to the way that you perceive
yeah.
characters. That's so cool.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I just saw a cosplayer who, one of my favorite animes, Boko no My Hero or My Hero Academia, a girl cosplayed All Might, and All Might's got this like full-fledged like bodysuit, right? But she totally made it look almost like a Wonder Woman style, which is so cool. And she's got like the big thigh-high boots on and stuff. It's just the whole design was fantastic, and I was just like, I don't know who you are, chick, but you're amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I find that for me personally, I've been a little bit more drawn to the female characters, and I think that's more just me getting into comic books and learning how to appreciate it. There's still part of me that, even though I love, I've been reading Wonder Woman, I've been reading Silk, I read a little bit of Gwenpool, just got some Squirrel Girl. I got my first Captain Marvel. I really don't know much about Captain Marvel, so I'm really
I don't
excited
either.
to like discover that.
And I want to read her more before her film comes out. Yeah.
But I still, like, as much as I love them and I'm by no means a prude, there's still times where I'm like, I kind of roll my eyes at about how over sexualized they are. They just have, massive titties hanging out, and they're and they look great. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
anything can look great when you draw it.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know if it's because I, grew up with brothers, or because I, had my own struggles with finding my power and my strength as a female. I just admire those female superheroes, and that's why, like, I just love Wonder Woman so much. We were just talking about I might get Wonder Woman tattooed on me, because
Right.
she just, I don't know, it just reminds me to be strong.
Right.
And I love the fact that, as I said, some of them can be way over sexualized, but I love the fact that these female superheroes can be both feminine and strong, and they're not just, a masculine version, like a female version of masculinity.
Right. No, totally. And yeah, and I guess that was going to be the next question is like which superhero or a film character, whoever, do you relate to?
Mm-hmm.
And like for me, well, I'm gonna go ahead and put this out there. I do love me some Tony Stark. I love me some Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say that I relate to Tony, but in a way, I feel like I do because, I mean, obviously, I'm not a genius and I'm not rich. However, the biggest thing that I love about Tony is, and this is literally like Robert Downey Jr.'s like life story, is that being one person at one point in time and then going through a situation, going through something in life that changes you for the better, and you totally do this 360. That's an everyday living life thing. Like, don't tell me you have been on this planet for however old you are and you didn't go through something that completely 360 changed you.
Right.
That was Tony. Like, he was cocky as all hell, didn't care about shit, whatever, drunk, gets captured, you know what I mean? And totally realizes that his whole like business is hurting people and making, war and all this
Right.
stuff. And he's just like, no, I'm putting a stop to it. I'm doing something else, He's still cocky as shit, which I love a good lovable asshole. But like I just think he's a total asshole that I love him so much at the same time. I don't know what it is. Anyway, yeah, like I love that you saw this change happening to him, and I think that's just a beautiful thing for any human being, that if you're changing for the better and we can see it, you can see it, you know what I mean? These positive changes, that's something to be admired for, like you should be. I'm gonna admire you for that. It's not easy to change, and so if you can see that and put those things into action for the change, that's fantastic. So that's why I feel like in that small aspect I relate to Tony, because I'm always trying to change for the better. But that's that. If I had to choose a female, that one's hard, because just any female that's badass and kicks ass and takes names, like, I already admire her. But if I had to choose one, she's fairly new for me and I'm still reading a little bit more about her though. And I'm only gonna go off of the film adaptation of her, but I love Valkyrie. I thought Valkyrie was so cool, and I'm totally cosplaying her as well at Comic-Con. Tessa Thompson was brilliant. I loved it, and I just loved the way they portrayed her, that she was trying, again, and there's a commonality, she was trying to run from her past. She just wanted to be on Sakaar and die, like, she's a scrapper or whatever, but then she realized that, like, this is never just gonna go away, this defeat that I had with Hela, and I lost my whole, like, troop and whatnot, like, so she had to face those demons. She had to go back and fight her one-on-one by herself. Like, she wanted to right those wrongs in herself, I guess, and that's what I loved about it. And that's, again, that's how I related to her, again, because, again, I'm just always trying to change for the better and face my own fears and my own demons and whatnot. So
yeah,
those are the two characters that I feel like I would, if I had to say I related to somebody, for sure.
Like I said, I love me some Wonder Woman, and I love, at least in the movie, and, I've only read a few of her comics, but I love the fact that, especially in the movie, she still makes mistakes, and she's still a little bit naive because she's discovering the real world.
And she still takes hits. That's what I like about her. She's not like this just, like, super overpower woman, you can't touch her. Yeah, like, she took some nasty hits.
Yeah, but other than, I've gone on and on about Wonder Woman, and this might be I feel like this is kind of weird to say, but I actually really love Jessica Jones.
Oh, she's so great.
I love her. And not only because I have the dark hair and I basically dress like her and it's going to be the easiest cosplay ever, but I love the TV series. Season 2 on Netflix was
so good.
Awesome. And I have one Jessica Jones comic that I have not read yet, so I haven't really gotten into the comic book version of Jessica Jones, but at least in the Marvel Netflix series, I like the fact that she's just raw and she's really real.
So
like
real.
She's super strong, she has all these amazing abilities, but at the end of the day, she's an alcoholic. She deals with PTSD. She has major family issues, and even though she has all these amazing powers, sometimes, her past and, these traumatic events that she's dealt with can really skew her perception and her judgment, and sometimes
She's always in an internal struggle.
yeah, and so
Always.
sometimes, you know, she could easily use her powers to fix whatever situation she's in, but she just has this, like you said, huge internal struggle, and she may completely go off the path, and you're like, what are you doing? But I just like the fact that she's just really raw and really real, and she's not afraid to just not be prim and perfect all the time, because she's by no means, you're like, when did you shower? Girl.
The guy I'm dating is always like, I hate your jeans. He's just like, oh my god, take those jeans off. They're so bad.
God.
I'm just like, dude, that's just Jessica. Like,
Yeah, she doesn't give a fuck.
And she sure doesn't. She doesn't give two shits what you think. Like, that's just how she is.
I love it.
Now we gotta, since we're talking superheroes, our favorite, who we felt like we relate to, let's just break down our favorite female superheroes. Yes, our favorite female superheroes. I am right out the gate going to say, like I said, Valkyrie, Domino's amazing. Love me some Storm, love me some Rogue, and I absolutely love Okoye. Shout out to Mako Okoye. That is just the strongest black woman who also, in a lot of ways, I feel like she doesn't give two shits what you think. Like, she's here to kick ass and take names. I love it. Like, shout out to her.
Yeah, I'm still discovering them, but again, Wonder Woman, love me some Jessica Jones. I also really like Silk.
Oh, yes. Silk is good.
I read a couple of the Silk comics, and I just love the story and her personality. And then I really don't know a lot about her yet, but Captain Marvel, I'm very intrigued with Captain Marvel,
me too.
especially the fact that I feel like the rank of captain and just the word captain often gets associated with a male.
Right.
And so some people are even like, oh wait, Captain Marvel's a woman. So I have one Captain Marvel comic at home that I'm eager to read, and I'm eager to see the movie. So yeah, she's piqued my interest.
Yeah, she's piqued mine too. I'm trying to jump on that train as well, because I'm like, I need to know what's going to happen, especially going into this film. So I definitely want to have read some things about her. So yeah, look at that, guys. Again, we're not super seasoned. There's still things that we don't know, but I think that's the best part of the journey of being a nerd or a geek, is just always learning, always, you know, diving into the research and experiencing these awesome stories of fantastic superheroes. You know, I have a thing about superheroes. I will always love them. All right. It is that time, you guys. Closeout time. We're walking away with advice here. And for me, I am going to read you. I said I was going to read you these definitions by these two people that I feel like is a true definition of a geek and a nerd. So looking at the definition of nerd, this is by the actor Zachary Levi. He said, nerd, one whose unbridled passion for something or things defines who they are as a person without fear of other people's judgment. I couldn't have said that better. I just think that is so cool. And then the definition of a geek is by Marissa Mayer, I believe is her name. She's the CEO, president, and director of Yahoo.
Oh.
Yeah. She said, geeks are people who love something so much all the details matter.
I love that.
I think that's a fantastic definition. Way better than the damn dictionary or Urban Dictionary. I just thought those were like the thing. And so, I mean, if we were to pick that apart, we're not going to dive too deep on that. But again, passion, something that, you know, you love so much that you're not afraid of other people's judgment, because that's your world. That's your passion. And that all those details matter to you. And that's okay. As long as, again, details, that can still be a fine line where you get into that gatekeeping.
Yep.
But like I said, we'll expand on that later. But still, like, those details matter to you. That's a passion of yours. It doesn't matter what anyone says. You do you.
And you don't let anyone kind of take that joy away from you.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So you do you, boo boo.
As far as my advice, again, very much a newbie geek, but what I've found as far as discovering comics and movies is just take it slow. You know, you don't need to catch up on every single superhero right now. And there might be really obscure, lesser known comics and lesser known movies and characters that aren't necessarily mainstream. Like I found a few that I had never heard of before that I absolutely love. And so just just take the time to explore and figure out what you like, and don't necessarily try to go with, what everyone else is reading and watching and all that. It's just like, just find what you like.
Yeah.
Take the time to explore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's good advice. I like that. Cool. Yeah. So recommendations. I am totally going to recommend some of my personal favorite things. I mean, there's a lot out there in this world of geek and nerdom. So again, like Kat said, like what you like, go explore. That's part of the journey. It's part of the fun about it. So with that, for me, for a movie, and I'm only going to do one, like I said, it's hard for me to just narrow it down. But for one, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, my favorite movie. I have all the comics, I have the video game, I have the soundtrack. Like, it's not a game. I love me some Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. If you've never seen it, please go see it. It's so good. I actually don't even want to say what it's about and whatnot, because I just think you need to dive in cold turkey. And then you're just gonna be like, what am I watching? But this is fantastic. It's so good. Just Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, my favorite. I'm recommending it. And then as far as comics go, my personal favorites are the Avengers versus X-Men. So good. I literally started collecting that story in California and finished here in Utah when I moved here and got the rest of the comics for that story. I think it's like 12 volumes or 12 issues. And it's so good. I'm also still reading the Miles comic. I know, bad geek, but from what I've read so far with the 3 books that I have for the Ultimate Spider-Man, the Ultimate Universe, with Miles Morales, it's so good. It's my favorite. And then, of course, I am still reading currently, but I also recommend it because it's fantastic, is the Riri Invincible Iron Man comics, or Iron Heart is what she's going by, and she's also fantastic. And I'm not gonna lie, I love it because she's a black woman. I'm just like, oh my god, the next person to take out Tony Stark is a black woman. This is me. So those are what I'm recommending, and a lot of you, I'm sure, are probably already on it, so good job.
Again, as a more beginner geek, I don't really have any recommendations, but I want to hear what you recommend. What do you think should read? Yeah. What do you think we should... Just, what do you like? Tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to get to know you guys, yo.
We want your feedback. Tweet us. Comment stuff.
Yes.
Be known. Be present.
Talk to us.
Yeah, let us know your recommendations. It's not all about us. I know we got the microphones, but...
No, and I want to also just shout out that we've gotten some really great feedback already on this podcast, and so right now I just want to say thank you to all of our current listeners right now. You guys are gonna totally take this show into some amazing directions, because we're basically, we have things that we're passionate about that we're going to talk about, but we also want you at the table. This is a sit down. We don't want just me and Kat at the sit down all the time. We want you here with us. So please send us messages, send us ideas, topics, all kinds of stuff, and we'll keep rolling these out for you guys. Really quick, we'll wrap up with the events. So of course, Salt Lake Gaming Con, July 6th through the 8th. I will be there, and I hope you are too. It's going to be a good time. We got the Asian Festival, which I believe is Saturday, June 16th from 10 to 7 at the Mountain America Expo Center. That's also really good. They have a cosplay parade. It's pretty fun. I've participated in that. We got PopCon. That is June 9th. So that's this weekend, I believe, coming up.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, PopCon, 10 a.m. to 6. I believe our friend Stefan with Crackbrain will be there too, so that's going to be awesome.
Also on June 9th, once you're done with that, in the evening, there's going to be some cosplay karaoke, which we will both be at in cosplay.
Yeah.
So come hang out with us.
What are you gonna be?
I think I'm going to be Laura Croft. Also because I don't really have any costumes yet, and that's easy.
Hey, the closet cosplays sometimes are usually the best cosplays. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, so come, whether or not you're in cosplay, come, hang out, have a few drinks, sing some songs, hang out with us. You can get photos taken. It's a fun time.
Yeah, and
so that's June 9th, Saturday night, Tell them where, because I don't
At
remember.
at the Union in Midville, and usually all the cosplay karaoke's it's $5 to get in, and it always goes to some charity that Bill and
Yes.
Neff are holding, and people in need, organizations that need a little extra donations and whatnot. So you're coming and having a great time and drinking and pictures
Supporting
and
a
stuff,
good
but you're
cause.
supporting a good cause at the same time. And so, yeah, Laura Croft, dude, that's gonna be badass. I think I'm gonna do a casual domino. I'm gonna test her out before I get the full cosplay going. But yeah. It's going to be great, guys. That's all we have for you. You've been fantastic. And again, don't mind us as we've been drinking and stumbling over words and whatnot. But at the same time, we believe in being real. So,
All right. Well,
yep.
see you next Woke Wednesday.
Next. Stay woke, y'all. Be safe out there. Love yas.
Bye.